process of life in nature can be seen as repeating itself throughout all things, as an expansion, contraction, a widening, an explosion of itself until it is exhausted, for it to repeat itself in a cycle. And we sit on the edge of this expanding explosion or expansion. We enter through a door, through a backstage entrance, an entrance to arrive on a stage, the stage of life. A wave seemingly separates from the ocean, just as an ocean berths the ships to the docks. A child is delivered from the hips of a woman and sought out by the dock. You are born, or seemingly so, a personality, an ego. A body is born, seemingly separate from everyone else and everything. And just like a rose or any in nature, we seem to grow, both your body and personality, following the pattern of life. And as a baby, you're mostly fresh, unblemished. Where you came from, you forgot, as if a new game had been selected. You progress to a toddler, a child playing games, learning hide and seek, a game you forget you're already playing with yourself, learning a name in the world. The ego starts to develop. Schooling and parents have provided you with a structure. Your personality begins to take shape. You grow and change into a teenager. And although your body is aging and you feel and seem different, something inside always feels the same, unchanging and does not age. As a teenager, you take the steps to become an adult. From this physical form, we reach out to our golden age, our maximum level of growth, a rose in full blossom, an adult. We have made choices, taken paths, and we age further, still an adult or an older adult, past our 40s now, maybe into our 50s. And the body starts showing signs of becoming older. Illnesses and conditions start to develop. From our golden age, we begin to decline. And this is the same for nature. From an older adult, we become elderly. Our body starts failing, shutting down like a flower in winter, like a cloud that has dissipated all its rain. The body feels like a shell compared to its former self, slipping back to a time similar to when they were a baby, losing the controls of motion, memory and knowledge. We seemingly regress before we return to where we once came, before we return home. And it's the same with potential. The potential that we have to excel in sport, in career, in family, in relationships. We all have hidden potentials, and we don't know how far this potential goes, but we constantly grow and get better. A footballer aged 5 constantly grows and grows and gets better until his peak, which may be in his 20s or 30s, until he declines again, just like the flower. But each of us have got maximum potential. Some of us may have reached that potential while others haven't yet. Find your full potential. In regards to the world, it works in this exact same way, and there is no way to know when the end will be, when the full growth has taken place. And maybe the same can be said about love. We meet someone and we begin to fall in love. We fall in love and it's beautiful. And just like how a flower shows a human growing to its full potential, so does love follow the same path. It starts off small and grows into something much larger than it was to start with. As time progresses, so do experiences. Many people would argue there's a honeymoon period of maybe 6 months, a year, in some cases longer. What this would be is the flower growing until its potential has been reached, until it's bloomed. And when it reaches its full potential, it can't grow any further. It becomes stationary. And due to the constant growing and learning of before, this feels different, cold, out of place, odd, something has changed. But the best of relationships see that a couple's golden years will maybe be when they first met. When they were young, they see things change as they get older, but they still remember themselves in the height of their love, at its peak, no matter how long ago that was. They keep this image of themselves in their mind. It keeps them strong. It keeps them in love. And although their body fails them, as the petals fall away, They still remain in love with a memory of what once was. And what if we looked at time as a similar instrument? Time as an explosion, constantly expanding. Everything moving together, and we sit on the edge of this expansion. Always at the end, always at the edge. Everything always moving together, every part affecting the whole. Look at the way an explosion erupts. An implosion before an explosion. A press downwards before rising back upwards and splitting in 3 directional ways. Creating the cross. We are constantly on the edge of this explosion. People have called it the Big Bang. And we sit on the edge of time moving, always present and now. And we can also see this in how the sea works and how it comes in on itself. Imagine the wave at the front, always thinking that it's at its fullest, always thinking at the edge, but never is until it is. We are that wave. And if we were to look at the sea in the same sense as time, but as that wave comes forward, more knowledge, more awareness, more technology, more pieces to the puzzle are revealed. And yes, the tide has come in many times. So much knowledge has been revealed before, and then taken away, and then revealed again, before taken away. Just like how a wave and how the seas transgress, or how a flower operates throughout the year and dies, and then comes back to life. In the beginning there was the Big Bang, scientists say, which created everything. From nothing came everything. What if I told you this explosion was still occurring? As scientists today say, the universe is still expanding. If the Big Bang was still occurring, and the expansion was still occurring, we would be on the edge in time, never knowing when the end would be, but always expecting it to be so. Everything's still connected, every little aspect affecting the other aspect like a spider's web. Every little movement affects the whole web. Everything moving as one but seemingly separate. Everything in the universe grows how it should. Some flowers grow more than other flowers. Some flowers grow crippled while other flowers grow grey. I often try to explain this to people, but there are sometimes outside influences. And these outside influences are unpredictable and outside of our control, but they still affect our lives and can take us down. Whilst we remember this, we still have to be strong and remember that a lot of outside influences we cannot control, but only control our own inside emotions towards those influences. And lately I've been seeing time and reality as similar to a piece of glass shattering and being smashed, a crack. And it all starts off with just one crack, one smash, or the fundamental hit, and it spreads from there. And again, we can relate this to an explosion or a big bang, or the seed popping out for a flower to start its growth. It starts before it continues to spread. And this crack in reality, which started long ago when man decided to start naming objects and inventing laws and regulations, until today we see the laws and regulations holding man back in chains and looking towards a future These lines and cracks can only crack more, in which with the cracking there are more guidelines and lines and laws to follow, and this will continue until it is completely shattered, which people are scared of, but they should not be, because this shattering is the reset and the start of all things. Just like a flower that resets itself in spring, or the sun rising up again in the morning, it is the same story. It needs to shatter to come back to its fullness. And the same can be said about day and night. The expansion of one while the other one contracts, until the passing of the torch while they switch roles. And this is the same for the human breathing of in and out. The in and out process of the expansion and contraction of the lungs, or even of the heartbeat, dudum, dudum, as it expands and contracts. We see this in all forms of life, just like the rose, expanding until it contracts back on itself, to expand again the next year to contract back on itself. Only the limitation of time, it seems, separates these cycles, some being longer, some being shorter, but all following the same pattern. We see a lot of darkness in the world currently, and as we know, light conquers darkness, and this will be the case soon enough. Just have faith in yourself and something higher, and remember your moral self in this plagued world.
I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.